Manchester United are moving fast to secure Marcus Rashford's replacement as the players turn against him. Ruben Amorim wants to expand United's scouting network in Portugal after missing out on top talents. Diego Leon comments on his immediate Manchester United transfer. Mount out until March, plus all the latest Manchester United news and transfer news that will keep you right up to date with everything. Welcome to Man United Review. My name's Jamie. Before we get into it, please smash a like on the video. And let's jump straight into it. So how are we all feeling today? What an absolute shower of shit that was yesterday. It's the only way I can describe it. I thought like after a night's sleep, and you know, it just doesn't feel any better today, does it? So let's just go through some of the shocking stats from yesterday. So only Southampton have conceded 3+ goals in a Premier League home game more times than Manchester United this season. That came from Opta-Joe. That is absolutely pathetic, just like our performance and like some of our players are just pathetic players. I'm at the stage now, I don't know how you feel regarding everything, where I've just given up on some of these players. A lot of these players that have been here for a long time, they're just not good, are they? They're not good. They're not going to be good. There's something in them mentally that they can just switch it on and off like a tap, and that's not what we need. We haven't won back-to-back Premier League games this season, which says it all about the players that we have in our team, regardless of who the manager, who the tactics, or anything like that. You cannot perform when you've got players that just can't pass the ball 5 yards to each other in a professional manner. I think Gary Neville kind of summed it up after the game yesterday, saying, I think it's a massive positive that Ruben Amorim is seeing what he's got. In the past, there have been times where you could be kidded into thinking that you've got a better group of players because of decent results and moving up the league, but they are a mile away in every single way. They are all very mediocre, and I don't know what's happening. They are better than what they are showing, let's be clear, but it's a pattern. And I kind of agree with Gary Neville's assessment on things at the moment. There's long-standing players at the club that are just not good enough, not consistent enough. There's something in them and I don't think it can be coached out. So Ineos do need to get their fingers in their pocket, and I think have we finally need that rebuild that we've wanted, that we've needed for so long. The only thing that I kind of am encouraged by is I love the fact that Ruben Amorim is sticking to his guns. I've said this before in previous videos, and this was one of the reasons why Ten Hag was ultimately sacked, was because Ineos want to see a style of play, because it's the only way that you can kind of see, actually, is it the players, is it the manager, is it the system, is it the tactics? And I think at the moment, because we've had good games playing this kind of formation and stuff, it's the players. I'm kind of at that stage now where it's all on the players. We've just got players that are just simply not good enough, whether that's, you know, technically or whether it's mentally. And we need a big goal. That's my opinion. And we'll go through some kind of transfer news, but let me know what you think about the result yesterday. Let me know in the comments below. So let's go through the transfer news. So Diego Leon speaks about to the people of his hometown about his upcoming move to Manchester United. So there's a few videos online where he was kind of greeted and celebrated in his hometown about his move to Manchester United. And this came from a South American journalist saying that he said, "Thank you for the welcome. It was really nice. I can't thank you enough. You surprised me so much and I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Thank you all so much for the good vibe. It's a dream come true," on about moving to Manchester United. "I thank my parents, my siblings and the people of O'Leary. I appreciate it. I don't know what else I can say, but thank you." So again, there's a viral video going around of him kind of speaking to the crowd in his hometown as well. So effectively, you know, it's a done deal, isn't it? It's just a case of when we're going to announce that one with Diego. Leon, who is a very talented, you know, really top kind of player for his age group. So one that's massively exciting. Now, as I just mentioned, one of the biggest issues we've got at United is the players and the playing staff and the playing squad, and we need to remove some of the deadwood that's been stuck at the club for years. Fabrizio Romano has said that Christian Eriksen and Victor Lindelof are up for sale in January. However, there is no concrete interest in them at the moment. Lindelof picked up an injury against Spurs at midweek. So, you know, conveniently, he might be injured again for another transfer window. Eriksen, we've bought here before. There's been other reports, I think the Muppeteers and people like that have been saying that we would look to sell Eriksen in January if there were suitors. I think they're more interested in getting them off the wage bill than they are necessarily getting a transfer fee, because I'm pretty sure with Lindelof, we've done the +1 option on his contract, so he's entitled to half of the transfer fee anyway. If you remember back to a video we covered in the summer, which was effectively said if we trigger the +1 contract on our players, then they're entitled to half of the transfer fee that we get for them. So Lindelof and Eriksen, not necessarily about the transfer fee that we're going to get. It's more important to get them off the wage bill, which will be massively important. It's about 240 odd grand a week, I think it is, just for those two, which is a big money for United at the moment. Now, obviously, another player that we could be looking to move on in January, Marcus Rashford. So Fabrizio Romano said that there is interest in Rashford from Saudi clubs. Remember, over the last few days, obviously, all the talk's been on Marcus Rashford. We did bring it up to Porty News the other day, suggesting that there were teams in Saudi that were potentially lining up a bid. Whether he would want to go there or not remains to be seen. Romano also said there's a strong possibility of Rashford to leave in January or the summer. And there is interest in Ederson, but a deal in January would be complicated. Again, there was news last week saying that United were lining up potentially a move for Ederson. Complicated in January. That's more of a summer deal because he's a big player, and I don't think Atalanta are going to want to sell one of their best players in January personally, but interesting kind of that Romano name dropped Ederson as a player there. So that kind of suggests to me that there's clear interest in the player, but going to be interesting to see what happens with Marcus Rashford. Now, this next story came from The Sun, so I would say straight away take it with a pinch of salt. But they were claiming that Marcus Rashford has lost the dressing room after insisting he wants to leave Manchester United. The want-away star stunned his teammates on Tuesday by saying he was ready for a new challenge. A source said some of the players are really annoyed at what Marcus said and why he chose to say it at that time. They were all buzzing after beating City, and then he basically put in a transfer request after being dropped for one game. He's not got many friends close in the squad anymore after the likes of Paul Pogba and Jesse Lingard left, so he's pretty quiet and doesn't really act as a leader. More is expected of him, and he doesn't seem interested despite having been in the first team for 8 years. That sounded a bit like a hit piece to me, and I'm not one that kind of wants to go in on players when they're, there's clearly something going on with Rashford, and we'll find out the details in time, but I'm not really one to kick a man while he's down. So for me personally, I would say take that story with a pinch of salt, because it came from The Sun, who are not the most credible. They're more, they're happy to get the knives out and stick it in people's backs or kick them while they're down as well. But ultimately, we'll find out what's been going on with Rashford in the future. Now, Amorim himself, when asked about Rashford, literally gave a full-word response, saying, "It depends, we'll see." That's when he was asked if he would be back in the squad for the next game. Very, very similar answer. It depends, we'll see. So not giving anything away there. Now, Samuel Lucas, who is a shit stirrer, but, has connections, has said that Marcus Rashford is unhappy that United sounded out potential buyers for the forward without informing him. Sources close to Rashford have accused United of informing clubs of the 27-year-old's availability and that he was unaware of the developments. I don't necessarily know if that's true, because were there not stories before suggesting that he was up for sale in the summer, but nobody came in and bidded for him? So I don't know about that one. You can let me know what you think in the comments. Samuel Lucas also said that Ruben Amorim is under no pressure from the United hierarchy to remove Marcus Rashford from the squad. Omar Barada nor Jason Wilcox have interfered with Amorim's team selection, so the decision to not play Rashford is solely coming from Amorim. Kind of knew that anyway, because the Muppeteers were saying that they're not getting involved in team selection and stuff. They might have an input, obviously, in transfers and bits as well, but the managers picking the team and the tactics and the formations and stuff, so it's nothing to do with them. The Times, though, did kind of corroborate what Samuel Lucas was just saying, though, saying that Sir Jim and the United board will leave it to Ruben Amorim to decide Marcus Rashford's future. It has been made clear that Ratcliffe will not intervene. So again, the kind of decision on Marcus Rashford effectively solely down to Ruben Amorim, who clearly doesn't fancy him at the moment. The fact he's not been in the last 3 matchday squads and not even on the bench suggests that there is something going on behind the scenes. You don't just drop a player like that because of training. In my opinion, anyway, there's got to be something kind of deeper or something that's kind of happened. And again, it'll all come out in the wash eventually. So let me know what you think, though, about that in the comments. Now, in terms of possible replacements, there was a story that was very similar last week that I brought to you, saying that Manchester United are moving fast in agent talks for Nico Williams. They want him to replace They want to replace Marcus Rashford with him. The player has a £48 million release clause, and United are ready to pay it. Now that came from Fichajes, who unfortunately are not the most credible sources. Spanish outlet suggesting that United are moving fast for Nico Williams. He would be an interesting option to come in potentially as a Marcus Rashford replacement. £48 million. Reports are we want between 30 to 40. Well, 30 to 55, depending on who you believe, for Marcus Rashford. But again, who's going to buy Marcus Rashford in January? I can't see that many clubs having those sort of funds available unless he does go to the Saudi Pro League, in which case Williams would be an interesting option to come in. But I want to wait for way more credibility personally regarding that. The report there, not the most credible, being truthful with you. But let me know what you think. He's an interesting option. It would be a decent, it's probably on the lips of many people to come in as potentially a Marcus Rashford replacement would be Nico Williams. Really kind of talented young player. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, another player that we've been heavily linked with recently is Theo Hernandez. So Manchester United are set to make a move for AC Milan left-back Theo Hernandez. The chances of the player leaving Milan are very high. There's been a few reports actually recently suggesting that there's been some kind of fallout between Hernandez and AC Milan, which could, mean that they are more open to selling him, but also that the player himself would potentially be looking to move on. He would be a great option. The left wing-back position still annoys me that we didn't address it in the summer, being honest with you. The fact that we've gone pretty much a full calendar year with no left back for a club of our size is absolutely shocking. Who would have thought that Luke Shaw would be injured all the time, and with Malacia not kicking a ball for 18 months beforehand, who would have thought that he'd look crap when he came back into the first team and would need some time to get up and running again? I think that decision's absolutely terrible. We need a left fullback, because even if Malacia does remain fit, let's be truthful with you, he is a backup left back at his very best. I don't think he's United first team quality, even if he was playing to his full potential, which is not realistic at the moment with the amount of time he's had out. So that left-back position is a massive priority. Getting somebody like Theo Hernandez, who's one of the best around in that position, would be fantastic. But again, I don't know whether we're going to have the funds available to do that in January. I highly doubt it, considering that Jim Ratcliffe's taken, £50 bonuses away from stewards and stuff. It just seems a bit unlikely, but keep an eye on it for you. Who knows? Maybe they are going to do a madness in January and sell a load of players and get some cash in to buy some players. But I can't see it personally, being truthful, but who knows? I'll keep an eye on it for you. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Now, a couple more stories to go through. So Napoli see Harry Maguire as an interesting option. Galatasaray are also monitoring his situation. He will be free to sign a pre-contract from January the 1st if the club has not activated the option by then. United are in talks with the player. Now, that came from Laurie Whitwell, very credible source, probably one of the best United correspondents or journalists out there at the moment. Like David Ornstein's the guru when it comes to, for football transfers and stuff. But Laurie Whitwell, very good when it comes to Man United kind of stuff, suggesting that maybe Napoli could be a destination for Harry Maguire. Galatasaray interested in it as well. We do still have the +1 option available on Maguire, and there are rumours that we might be looking at offering him a new contract, potentially on a lower wage, but would be decent choices for him as well. And to be fair, he's on like 200 grand a week. So could he be a player that potentially we look to move on to save that wage, which we can then reinvest into the team? Who knows, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Let me know what you think in the comments. And then obviously last week we had the injury news that the big blow that Mason Mount was injured. It's now been revealed that he suffered a hamstring injury due to hyperextended leg, and the tendon is involved. He is expected to be out for around 10 weeks, depending on rehab and recovery. That's terrible for him. I mean, nobody wants to get injured, and it was one of those where he made like a challenge or went for the ball and you could see his kind of leg didn't look right. But it just kind of shows 250 grand a week player that just can't stay fit. Massive issue for us. Not one, for me, I'm kind of, I said in the summer, Mason Mount's on his kind of last chance, because being injured all last season, coming off of the COVID season or the World Cup season and all of that stuff, you can maybe forgive players for being you know, a little bit out of form or a little bit kind of injured considering the amount of games that they had to play the year before. I do think that had a knock-on effect on some players last season, but the fact he's just continued this season being, if not more injury prone than last season, is absolutely terrible. He's on 250 grand a week, though, and being constantly injured. I do think he should be a player that we should move on in the summer, personally, regardless of his talent. And I do think he fits Amorim's system really well, and is a decent player when he kind of plays. He puts himself around and covers the ground and stuff. But what's the point in keeping a player that can't stay fit? Is absolutely 0 point. But the problem with Mount, he's on 250 grand a week, and he's always injured. No one's going to buy him, so we're going to be stuck with a player just like we are with Luke Shaw, where he's going to be in and out of the first team all the time, injured for a while, come back, make a couple of appearances, injured again. It's just really frustrating. And I know it's not his fault personally, but it's just really disappointing, the injury situation regarding Mason Mount. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. So, Ruben Amorim is urging Manchester United to build a brand new scouting team in Portugal. The new United boss believes the club's network in his homeland has dropped off since it brought Cristiano Ronaldo to the club 21 years ago and wants a reboot. Amorim has concerns that the top young talent from his home country has been missed by United in recent years. Now, former Sporting coach Amorim is determined to ensure United are ready to seize the opportunity as a new wave of potential stars emerge from his homeland. And that's a really interesting kind of piece that came out from the Mirror, who have been quite decent with United recently, but more so under Ten Hag. So whether they've still got the links that they had at the club remains to be seen. But what the report was effectively saying was that United have missed out on talents like Bernardo Silva, Diaz, Pedro Neto, João Neves were the kind of players mentioned in the report that have all gone on to other clubs, and that United, or Amorim, wants to get a scouting network back in Portugal to scout these sort of players so we can get them, effectively, not necessarily on the cheap, because there are some big clubs in Portugal like Sporting and that will command high transfer fees for players selling them. But it was mentioning future talents like Coenda and Antonio Silva, two players that we've been heavily linked with in recent times as well, as potential kind of examples of players that they could be looking at coming forward. And I'm all for that. I think opening up the scouting networks in any country in the world, especially one like Portugal that do have a tendency to, have really high level footballers, can only be a positive in my opinion. It's just the question around that is, have we got the funds to bring these players in? That's the kind of, it's all very well good scouting all these players, but if you can't buy them because of funding, then that's going to kind of let us down massively. But yeah, overall, I think that's a good move because, like it says in the report, there are some top players that we have missed out on from Portugal. I think the last player we signed from them was Dalot. Fernandez, or was it Fernandez and Dalot? Yeah, would have been Bruno. The last kind of player that we signed from, or Portuguese player that we signed anyway. But overall, let me know what you think about that in the comments. And let me know what you think about all the other topics discussed in today's video, because that's you all up to date with the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Don't forget to smash a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. See you in the next one.